All right. All right. Where were you when I was 15? Happy Thursday, everyone. Well, it's Fleet Week here in NYC, so good luck finding a hooker. Sorry, Kaylee. Some cows stranded in a Swiss village under the threat of a rock slide were airlifted to safety via helicopter. It's actually the same way some New Yorkers get to work. Get it out early, I say. A top doctor that worked for Obama and Trump warned that Joe Biden could be dead within a year. Even worse, that year was 2019. According to that new Biden book, his handlers staged a town hall in a gym that went so badly, the campaign never released the footage. After seeing some of the leaked tape, we can see why. CNN's Paul Begala said the Biden cover-up won't hurt the Democrats' credibility. Another cover-up that won't hurt? A bag over Paul Begala's face. The New Jersey Health Department said that people who attended Shakira's concert at MetLife Stadium may have been exposed to measles. They also added that anyone who attended a Springsteen concert may have been exposed to high levels of Yeah! Congratulations to Jimmy Kimmel, who just became a grandfather. Finally, there's someone in his family who cries more than he does. James Carville said he would back AOC if she got the Democratic nomination. He then let everyone know that it's 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on your car insurance. And finally, porn star Bonnie Blue, most famous for having sex with over 1,000 men in 12 hours, has reportedly been arrested. The charge? Violating the local occupancy limit. Tragically, 16 officers were lost during her cavity search. All right. I know, it's funny. Okay, so yet another tale from the new book, Original Sin. Apparently, Joe Biden's campaign staff staged a fake town hall, closed to the press with an audience of loyal supporters and a comfy chair for Joe that repelled stains. But apparently, Biden was so incoherent, the footage was as unusable as an ejector seat on a helicopter. And so, like Joe Biden's soul, the town hall never saw the light of day. It's the latest story from the tell-all on Joe's decline, written by people who helped bury it like a cat turd in a litter box. But of course, the media is acting like they're the dupes. This week, the Washington Post editorial board actually published this headline, quote, "If Biden was too frail for his job, voters should have been informed." Wow. If only, there were a publication of some type that could execute that function. I mean, they act like during the entire Biden presidency, they were working at Papa John's. I don't know who's on that board, but they should be grateful their families didn't pull the plug during their 5-year coma. Talk about lazy journalists. They must rotate their editors to prevent bed sores. Here's a quote from the article. "It now seems Biden might have lacked the stamina and cognitive capacity the job demands, and that his family and closest aides concealed this from the public. Their decision to put personal loyalties ahead of their duty to the country must be reckoned with." Well, thanks a lot, Columbo. Next, you're going to tell us that Kamala likes a nightcap before breakfast. And might have lacked the cognitive capacity? That's like saying Dana Perina might lack the capacity to dunk. But this is from the paper who claimed the evidence of Biden's mishaps were just cheap fakes. Thank God there was one reporter doing his job, our stupid son of a bitch, Peter Doocy.
President Biden is the oldest president in U.S. history. Why does White House staff treat him like a baby?
No one treats the President of the United States, the Commander-in-Chief, like a baby.
How is President Biden ever going to convince the 3/4 of voters who are worried about his physical and mental health that he is okay even though in Las Vegas he told a story about recently talking to a French president who died in 1996.
I'm not even going to go down that rabbit hole with you, sir.
What is your memory, and can you continue as president?
My memory is so bad I let you speak.
Well, Peter fears nothing, except birds.
You know, Peter, I appreciate. A bird just landed on my head. What is going on? Was that a bird? What was that about? I did not like that at all.
Some advice, Peter, don't wash your hair with worm scrub. But even as the media admits the cover-up was real, they do so with the caveat, hey, we swear we were trying to tell the truth. No, they're trying to save their credibility and their careers. I might trust Jake Tapper a bit more if he ever conceded a point without trying to sell me a book. But how can you trust a media or a party that refuses to come clean? This is a media who said Biden's babbling was a stutter when he couldn't get through a Q&A without looking DOA, while simultaneously heaping hate on the citizens of this country and falsely vilifying the man they voted for to the point where he was shot. Scott Adams makes this great point. The gaslighting over Biden's health was justified by their gaslighting that Trump was Hitler, which was entirely based on the tentpole of gaslighting the fine people hoax. It's all connected, it's all deliberate, and it's all false. Because some even defended Joe after his terrible debate. Most House Dems who met with him never said a thing about his failing health. So this is no longer about a party's popularity. It's about credibility and trust. There is no way the Dems can regain either until they own up to what they did. 2028 may be 3+ years away, but the Biden cover-up will take center stage. And unless a solid Democrat emerges who exposes the secret cabal that betrayed the country, the Republicans are sitting pretty. I mean, how can anybody ever trust a Democrat president if they aren't sure he's actually president? He might be a front or a cutout. If they take to the debate stage in 2028 with the same old act, say hello to your next president, Mr. J.D. Vance, then Rubio, then Hegseth, and of course, then Gutfeld. I knew that would happen. I'm such a prick tease. Or the Democrats could pull a Trump, call out their own party, and tell the truth. Yeah, and if my aunt had a dick, she'd be my uncle. That is an old saying, but it's even funnier today because the Dems actually believe it's true. Let's welcome tonight's guest. His act was the inspiration for the sympathy card. Comedian Joe Mackey. He once had a threesome with Mrs. Butterworth and Chef Boyardee, chef and restaurant owner Andrew Gruel. His voice is scratchier than Rashida Tlaib's 5 o'clock shadow. Jim Florentine. And this guest will soon be outnumbered by her babies. Outnumbered co-host Kayleigh McEnany. Joe, it's good to see you. You look very suave tonight.
You too, Greg. Is it bowling league night?
Are you still doing that dinner theater based on Miami Vice?
Yes, Greg, and it's very popular. I actually get paid more than I do here.
You know, like Biden's town hall, your jokes are often unusable. Do you identify with him? Do you feel any empathy?
I don't, Greg, because my favorite part of this story was they said it was unusable because of the lighting. What was wrong with the lighting? Did it show Joe Biden too much? But I'm going to go a little bit of a different direction here. I don't think it's the Washington Post's fault. I don't think it's the Democrat insiders' fault. I think this is the voters' fault, the people who voted for Joe Biden, because this was obvious, not the dead ones. But yeah. Do you remember when he couldn't remember Lloyd Austin's name? Do you remember all men are created equal, you know the thing? Do you remember when he was manhandled by the Easter Bunny?
Yes. Yep.
There was a lot of signs out there that you should have picked up on at some point, and the reason this frustrates me is they weren't all that nice to conservatives this last few years. They were the ones who called us murderers for going to a restaurant. They were the ones who said that we're going to be safer when we get rid of law and order. So I'm not going to let this go. So the next time I hear about a famous person with dementia, I'm going to tell them, well, I hope they're not suffering. I hope they're well cared for. But most importantly, don't vote for them for president.
Andrew, Joe made a very interesting point that it may not matter to voters. I mean, it could be that, like, it doesn't matter. If I'm a D, I'm going to vote D. I don't care if the guy's got D as in dementia.
Yeah. Or if the guy ends up having a debate with a French fry for 20 minutes and the media pitches it as he was talking to the French president.
Yeah.
We'll see that. You're right. There's a lot of tribalism, but that's why they say it comes down to like 500,000 votes to really choose who the next president is, and we got to target those people who actually have a brain. But I don't want to take the victory lap too quickly here and indulge on this buffet of truth and facts and what they're putting out there, because what they're doing right now by throwing Joe under the bus with all of these facts is they're distracting us. Again, this is the typical playbook, right? This is just the tip of the iceberg, the top of the lasagna, whatever analogy you want to use here, because they did the same thing, right? What they do is they lie, then they pretend to tell the truth, but they're lying again, and there's something underneath it. Newsom did it during the pandemic. Remember when he got caught dining out, and he said, no. I was outdoors. And he didn't know that Bill Maloogian had the photos of him dining. And then he went up again, and he doubled down on the lie, right? And then just the other day, Comey did the same thing. He's like, 86, 47. Yeah. I was walking along the beach, and there were shells there. Some kids just put it out there, right? And people eat up and believe those lies. This is not necessarily a lie, but it's the same playbook. So they're saying, Biden did all of this, but really the true story that they're trying to distract us from is what happened when he was incapacitated, right? Yeah. Who was signing the checks? Who was running the government? And they want to distract us from that. And I think a lot of the things that he did can be and should be undone, and that's the real issue here.
That young man made me change my mind on the question I was going to ask you, because I remember you are a lawyer, and he's right. It's like we're going to sit there and talk about his cognitive function without talking about what was being done under his name, the identity theft. Can anything be done?
Yeah, something should be done. I mean, I've publicly called for a special counsel. I'll continue to. There was a cover-up, and we need to get to the bottom of it, because 13 people died at the Abbey Gate, and I want answers to that.
But what about, like, the auto pen and the pardons? Can they revoke that without the hearing right now? Just say, look, we're going to put a stop to all this stuff?
That's the question. You got to figure out who's running the auto pen. Constitutionally, you got to litigate that up to the Supreme Court. Yeah, no, I think it was more than one person, and I think it was Jill Biden. I've got to be honest about that. You say who was running the country? Well, I scoured this book for you, Greg, because I knew I was coming on your show. I wanted to find an anecdote I could sear in your memory that you could not get out, and it was this: in 2003. Jill Biden was outside. They were having a discussion about whether Joe Biden should run for president. The book literally says, this Alex Thompson book, she walked through a planning meeting in a bathing suit with no scrawled on her stomach. Okay, I cannot get that out of my mind. She didn't want to be in politics in 2003. Then they say in 2016, she wanted to do political events. And then all of a sudden, she was a political partner for Joe Biden, to the point where in the White House, Jen Psaki sent Joe Biden out for a press conference that went 2 hours. Jill Biden shows up and goes, "Where were you? Why did that go on so long?" She's ferocious in this. I can't imagine a scenario where I sent Trump out for a press conference and Melania corners me and is like, "Why'd you let him do that? Are you kidding?" That man runs the show. His name's President Trump. I can tell you a likely scenario, though. Jill Biden, there was a pool under the White House briefing room, no longer there. I could see a scenario where Peter Doocy's asking some of those questions and Jill Biden in the bathing suit with the no scrawled on top just tackles him. I don't know why she didn't do it. It would have been more effective.
There's a pool under the briefing room?
There used to be, not anymore.
That'd be a great trap door.
Yes. There you go.
Yeah, Jim, should they revoke Dr. Jill's medical license? She's definitely not a good doctor.
No, she's not. It's weird because Joe probably thought he did good in that town hall.
Yeah.
Jill afterwards like, "You did great. You answered all the questions."
I love that.
That was the greatest ever.
Yeah. Look, you ate all the vegetables on your plate. You went boo-boo in your pee-pee.
I want to see that footage of the town hall, the stage town hall. That's got to be out there somewhere.
Look, if we can see the Kardashian sex tape and we could see the Tommy Lee that tape is out there. I think you can find it.
And yeah, and like Joe said, they blamed it on bad lighting. That's why they didn't air. Yeah, okay. Maybe the TV people didn't know how to light a cadaver. That was the problem. You know, if they wanted more lighting, Hunter should just lit up his crack pipe.
You know what it was? Obvious. They couldn't have the lighting there because they were afraid Joe would walk toward it. The walking toward the light joke.
Well, yeah, Greg, and to your point, though, when someone was using the auto pen and they weren't authorized by the president, that means they were an imposter.
Yeah.
It's no different than when I took your company credit card and ordered all that Stromboli.
So that was you.
No.
Well, you just confessed.
Well, I was teasing. It was for comedic effect, everyone. There's no evidence of that.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.